Hello everybody, this is Shelton Skelton coming to you live from Atlantic City, New Jersey. I'm here to talk about the Trayvon Martin case. I'm here to express my anger and my frustration at the state of Florida's state attorney's office. I'm not even mad at the Sanford Police Department. I'm more mad and more angry, believe this or not, I'm more mad and more upset with the state attorney's office than I am with Mr. Zimmerman. You know why? Because I expect Mr. Zimmerman, as a white Hispanic male, to have prejudices and to be suspicious of African American males. I expect that. I expect him to want to hunt down and murder a young African American male or who he feels is not giving him the just respect that he felt that is due since he's the neighborhood captain, crime watch captain. I expect that from him. But I don't expect is the obvious blatant racism that I hear and I see coming from the Florida State Attorney's Office down in Seminole County, Florida. That's who I'm upset with. Now let me tell you something, Mr. State or Mrs. State Attorney. I graduated with a GED. I don't even have a college degree, but I have enough sense to read and learn how to interpret the laws that were written by the state of Florida. And when I read those laws, it stated something that really stuck out. It says that if you are the initiator, if you're the aggressor in the fight, you cannot, I repeat, you cannot claim self-defense. You guys know that Mr. Zimmerman and you guys are trying to change the rules of the game in mid-play. You guys know that Trayvon Martin also had a right to stand his ground. And you know that Mr. Zimmerman relinquished those rights once he approached Mr. Trayvon Martin. And you guys are trying to change the rules of the game. And I'm not going to let you guys do that. No, I won't. The people of the state of Florida are not going to let you guys do that. We know as well as everybody else knows that Trayvon Martin had the right to stand his ground, that George Zimmerman, in the middle of the confrontation, felt that Trayvon was getting the best of him, and then wanted to pull out a gun and end this young man's life. And you guys are trying to allow him to do that. He needs to be, that's why the head investigators say he needs to be charged with manslaughter. Because he knows that you can't claim self-defense in the middle of a fight that you started. And you guys dropped the ball. And I'm going to tell you why you guys dropped the ball. You guys thought that Trayvon Martin was a kid from either Sanford, Lake Mary, that was in that neighborhood staking out houses to break into. You guys thought that once he was dead, that you were going to get a phone call from some local neighborhood, from some parent from either Sanford or Lake Mary that was going to say, "Hey, where's my son at? Tell me where my son at. I can't find my son." And then you were going to be able to say, "Well, Mr. and Mrs. Martin, we do apologize, but your son, Trayvon, was caught in a gated community, and he was acting suspicious, and one of our courageous young neighborhood captains approached him, and your son started striking him, which led the young man to pull out his firearm and kill your son. And we would like to ask you, Mr. and Mrs. Martin, what was your son doing out there in that community anyway, in that gated community?" And then they would say, I don't know what my son was doing. I don't know why Trayvon was over there. You know, Trayvon had no business being over there." And that's exactly what we're saying, ma'am. So we're going to let bygones be bygones, and we do apologize that your son was killed, but he had no business being there in the first place, and we do suspect that he might have been part of a ring of other black men that were casing the joint and was robbing from the neighborhood. That's what they thought was going to happen, people. But it didn't happen that way. Mr. Zimmerman and the state attorney's office were probably shocked when Trayvon's father called and says, "Where's my son at?"
"Well, where do you live at, sir?"
"I live in a gated community here in Sanford." Can you give us the address?" Holy crap. You mean tell me that black kid had a right to be there? You mean tell me that he wasn't trespassing? That's what happened. It was sloppy. The state attorney's office did sloppy work. I'm telling you, they were shocked. They did not expect Trayvon Martin. Trust me, they did not expect Trayvon Martin to be an innocent black kid that happened to be coming back from the 7-Eleven with a pack of Skittles and Arizona iced tea. I guarantee you Mr. Zimmerman probably threw up. He probably threw up. His heart probably skipped 1,000 beats when the Sanford Police Department contacted him and said, hey, the kid you killed, his father lives here in the complex. I guarantee the state attorney's office was like, holy shit. Because 9 times out of 10, they would have been right. Hate to say this, but I can even say this as an African-American male. 9 times out of 10, they would have been right. But they dropped the ball, but they weren't right. And thank God they weren't right, because let's say if Trayvon was just walking through the neighborhood to get to his neighborhood, we wouldn't be here today. The only thing that makes this case 100% solid for Trayvon is that he was there for his father. And now we know this. And Zimmerman didn't know that. And the state attorney's office didn't know that. They didn't bother to even care to know that. They honestly thought in their head that Trayvon was up to no good and he got what was coming to him. And now we know it didn't. Now they know it didn't. Now they're trying to cover up. So don't forget, people, Trayvon Martin had the right to stand his ground. It doesn't matter if he beat the shit out of Mr. Zimmerman. It doesn't matter. He was approached. So the scales of justice leans more towards him. Because he has a right to stand his ground. Mr. Zimmerman relinquished that right. And don't let the state of Florida try to manipulate your mind into believing that he did. No, he didn't. Because he didn't retreat. Now they're trying to concoct stories like, oh, he went back to his truck and then Trayvon came from behind. Let's say that to be true, which is not. The law clearly states that Mr. Zimmerman would have to clearly inform Trayvon, I don't want any problems, I don't want any trouble, I do apologize if I offended you, and left. Because remember, the law says that if Trayvon still perceived him as a threat, under stand your ground law, he still had the right to pursue. Oh, don't want to talk about that, do you? Read the law, it's clear. But they don't want to talk about that. Because remember, the law only applies and only protects them, not us. And this is what makes us so angry as African Americans. It seems that the laws are made to only protect. In other words, stand your ground only applies to whites, not blacks. So in other words, Mr. Zimmerman is afforded all the rights under the law, but not Mr. Martin. It doesn't matter what he was thinking. It doesn't matter if he was feeling intimidated. It doesn't matter if he was feeling threatened. Only if Mr. Zimmerman did. Whatever was going on in Mr. Zimmerman's mind, that's what counts. Not what was going on in Trayvon's mind. And this is what makes me upset, and this is what makes me angry. And I wish these black activists and politicians and lawyers would speak the truth and stop trying to downplay everything. Stop trying to make white people feel comfortable, because they're not making me feel comfortable. They're not making your children feel comfortable. So why should we make them feel comfortable? Let's just talk about the truth. Trayvon Martin had every single right to stand his ground. Plain and simple. Peace.